Good morning. It is time for coffee talk. I've got my coffee right here. It is Saturday morning, and we are ready to talk some tanks for the weekend. First thing we'll talk about is the Advent calendar and how you get to it. A little bit late to the party on that one, but thanks for your help figuring out. Found a couple things in there I want to talk about. We'll talk about holiday ops, at least what we know that's going to happen starting on the 15th and what's going on right now for the specials for Christmas. We'll dig into the events and missions as usual, and the store tab, which is a special beast. We'll look at that. More shenanigans involved there. Talk quickly about my computer I just built. I am currently on that computer. Well, I'm not on that computer, but I'm using that computer. We'll go over some tips and who the video ideas, the winners were from the contest last week. So I've got a couple things to give away, but what I'd like to do actually is go through all of the tips that I got and the video suggestions, because there was some good stuff in there I think everybody would be interested in. We are going to talk about the update, when it's going to come out, and it is soon. We'll talk about an interesting post I found on some insider info with a couple little tidbits about the future of Watt and some things that are going on in the background there. And we'll end it up with a little discussion on cheating in Watt, which I'm sure you probably know what that is going to be all about. Let's get to it. All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is how to get to your Advent calendar. In theory, that should show up when you start the game. I'm going to talk about it a little bit when I discuss my fresh install of Watt, but essentially there's a lot of little things that can happen apparently where that will not actually pop up first thing when you start up. So you won't get your Advent window, or perhaps you clicked out of it because it doesn't have a minimize button and you can't figure out how to get back to the Advent calendar. And there's a reason you want to get back to it. But first, let's talk about how you get to it. It is in the store, which is an interesting choice because it's sort of an event. And we'll talk about that later as well. But know that it is in the store tab. Here it is, Advent calendar. Go to calendar. It'll call it back up. And there is a daily mission involved with Advent, and you actually have to start the mission if you can believe it. And it is kind of hidden right here. New mission of the day. Start it now. Day accepted. So when you come out, you can go to your missions tab. You can go all the way down to the bottom of this thing and find, oh, it just updated. That's what that means when it does all that crazy stuff. There it is. It put my New Year's or my Advent calendar mission up. You won't find that down here until you click on what I just clicked on. So that is how you do that. We'll talk about a little more about that later. All right, let's talk about the holiday ops. I am on the news page over here. Quick side note, if you're so inclined to make an actual holiday ornament for Wargaming and send it to Wargaming NA, their address is in here where they want you to send it to. There is a contest for that, which will give out prizes, usually pretty good. Premium time or premium tanks, things like that. So if you're creative and want to do that, the details are right there. I won't dig into that. This weekend is called Warm Up for Holiday, Happy Holiday Warm Up, and it's just a ×2 crew, and there's some boosters you can get. We'll dig into that in just a moment. The big news from Wargaming then is a little more detail on what's going to start on the 15th, which will be the holiday ops, festive specials, things like that. The details are that you're going to decorate your yard. Obviously, you're going to do missions, standard. You're going to decorate your yard. Apparently, you can put stuff all over in your garage. You're going to level up the festive atmosphere, which cracks me up. Get crew members. Looks like your female crew members will be one of the things that you can win. Drives me crazy, but there you have it. There's going to be discounts on consumables and things. The big news, or the small reveal at least, not necessarily big news that they gave, is there's going to be 4 different sections to do it in: traditional Christmas, modern, Soviet New Year, and Chinese New Year. So it says you can do all 4. I imagine it's probably a bit of a grind to even get one. So it looks like quite the grind to get all 4, but we'll look at the details when they drop it. We just don't know what they happen to be right now. And that is pretty much all the information that we have on the Advent. So let's jump over to the specials. The Mutts right now is day 9 on the Advent calendar. So if you're inclined to get a Mutts, that is what is available. over in the premium shop. Some standard gold stuff under the specials, nothing. Project Valor still going on. That is a good charity, I guess I would say. Taking a look at the vehicles, I think we'll find the Mutts obviously here. Yeah, we got the Mutts. The Guard is still on sale for a day. That's still up there. And then some pretty standard tanks. So not really much going on deals-wise other than the Guard and the Mutts. I think all that's coming. There is a sale, and we'll get to it in just a minute, on some premium tanks, 30% off with gold. We'll talk about that when we get to it. All right, let's dig into the missions tab here and see what we have. Once we take a look at what's in there, we're going to talk about the UI design yet again, because I just keep finding some of the silliest things in here. But missions tab, you click on that. Events, Sheridan on Track is the only event we have going on. For the missions, we've got the Ace Tanker thing, 2 of those going on, and now we get down to tank rewards. That is ongoing. You can see that I have, I'm probably blocking it, there we go. I have 21 out of 145 done. I missed an entire day, so the most I believe you can have is 24, plus whatever you could get in 8 or 9 days with the Tiger 131 if you have that. So that is ongoing. Top 3 and win. Top 3 experience and win is what's going to trip that. You can do one of those a day in each of these tier bands from tier 4 up to tier 10. There is the New Year's Fuss Part 2, which is the Advent mission that I did, and it is 5 enemy vehicles destroyed. You get 30,000 credits, and you only can do that once. Each one of these Advent calendars seem to be something you can only do once, and they have all been for 30,000 credits. Just make sure you turn it on. It's just an extra little 30,000 credits along the way. And nothing else here. The crew is crucial is the ×2 thing. Here's that earn your XP booster thing that's going on. You can do that 3 times a day, and it's just experience. So 5,000 experience trips it, and off you go. So not a whole lot going on here, but of course we're waiting for the big December 15th reveal on what's going on with the holiday ops. So let's talk about this a little bit, because it continues to drive me crazy. You ever put a bunch of pictures on your computer and you built a folder and you called it pictures, right? And through the years, you might have actually had a couple folders for pictures, and you have one with your kid's name on it and your wife's name on it, and you have a couple different drives and you're trying to sort all this out, and eventually you find out you've got 2 pictures folders, so you throw one of the pictures folders inside the other pictures folder. Then you sort of forget about it because you haven't sorted all that, and 6 months later you're looking for a picture and you click on the pictures folder and you're digging around, you can't find it. All of a sudden you realize there's another pictures folder inside of it. That's kind of how Wargaming seems to design their UI, man. So it just struck me. I'm clicking on missions, right? So I click on missions, and then I have a missions tab. Why is there a missions tab? I don't get it. So if we go back to the garage and we look at the store, remember we talked about the Advent. I said we'd talk about this a little more. The Advent calendar is in the store. Well, they are selling things on the Advent calendar, but there's also a mission you have to activate. And isn't this really an event? Well, let's go to this. Actually, let's not go to that because I'm done talking about that. Let's go down here, because I haven't dug around in the store UI very much. I knew this stuff was here, and it was kind of redundant because it was letting you find tanks that are on sale, things you can do already on the website for stuff that you're buying with money. But it also lets you find stuff that's on sale for credits in-game. So it does serve that purpose as well. I will tell you before I dig into that too much, for me it's the tech tree. I just look at these little percentages. This is the easiest way to find out what's on sale for me. I just go to the tech tree and it's all laid out right in front of me with that little percentage in the bottom right. But say you wanted to go to the store and you're trying to figure all that out. You come down here and you look at it and you go, okay, alrighty, what is on sale? So this one says up to 30% discount on purchasing a Tier 7 VK Su-122-44 and other vehicles. And I say, okay, this is talking about the 30% gold discount for certain premium vehicles that are on the tech tree, right? Because you can buy them for gold, so they have to be on the tech tree. If you don't understand what I mean this. You come over here. Let me find one I don't have. Here we go. So here's the Steyr WT. It is a premium tank, but it's on the tech tree. It sits on this tree, so which means you can buy it for gold instead of just straight up money. If you've won gold, then you can get tanks. I can't get it because I don't have enough gold. So back to the store tab. That's what I figured was going on here. That's what it looks like. VK4503 discount. There it is. And 3 vehicles. Okay. So I'm thinking, well, what are those 3 vehicles? And I click on it. And it takes me to the store tab here, which is all the vehicles, including the non-gold vehicles. There's one of the gold vehicles. And then this is just the standard store tab where I can sort by whatever vehicle. So that did me no good. I went here and it said, here's 3. Oh, there's 3 more. And I said, well, what are those 3? I don't know. They're buried in here somewhere. So I said, okay, that's interesting. And why is the VK4503 and the Su-12244 listed up here, and then they're listed here, and then it says through anyway? So then I go over here and I say, all right, well, that's a fail. That doesn't really help me much. I mean, it takes me to the store tab, which I could do that for with. Okay, so cool. So I'll come over here. This one is, all right, so this is the Tier 715A and the Tier 6 HT number 6 and other vehicles, and 3 other vehicles. So 15A, number 6, the Sturv. All right, what are those 3 other vehicles? It's the store tab. Okay, that's strike 1, strike 2. What's this? All right, this is 30% on, okay, this looks like the credit discount that you can see that I just showed you on the tech tree. I'm like, okay, and 83 other vehicles. Well, I fully expect a long list here, but I click on this and it's the same place. It's this tab. So strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you should be out. We're going to give them another swing at the, this one is 50% discount on a Tier 5 and other vehicles. All right, oh, this is the on-track. Okay, so give me a list of the on-track vehicles. What? Why bother? Why did they even... This does nothing for anybody. There is absolutely zero purpose to this. This is like a pictures folder inside a pictures folder inside a pictures folder. And except in this case, when you get to the last pictures folder, it's empty. I do not get it. I do not understand. Anyway, if you want to frustrate yourself, attempt to use their store. Otherwise, go to the tech tree and do it this way, because I guarantee you, you'll be less frustrated doing it this way. All right, here she is. In all her beauty, all her glory, Gauge 4, the 4th one that I've built. Stands for Gonk of Justice. Gonk is a word for computer that I used in the Air Force for a long time. I don't even know if anyone else uses that word at all, but the people I was around use it. But in any event, this is Gauge 4, Gonk of Justice. So far, I'm going to knock wood here, because it has been extremely smooth on this one. A little bit of a hiccup here and there. There was an issue when I first started it. Because I'm using water cooling, I'm using the water cooling power off the motherboard. There's one for pump instead of just a fan. And it recognized it in the BIOS, but what it also recognized is the CPU fan was not on because there wasn't anything plugged into it. So it kept stopping me at the BIOS from getting into Windows. That one stopped me for about 12 hours. I had to go to bed. It had been a long day anyway putting it together. And I could work around it. I could force it to boot, but it would not. It wouldn't just boot up naturally or normally. I had to always manually go through the BIOS and do it. So I went to bed, woke up, and I finally found it. I knew that the fan control or turn off the monitoring was in there somewhere. Just couldn't find it, but I found it pretty quickly. That was literally the only burble. I did have to do a little bit of modification, as you can see down here on the fan area. I had some standoffs, so there's fans off of the water cooler, and then there's some fans off of the case right there in tandem, but I had to step off or pull back the water cooling fans a little bit because those tubes just wouldn't quite reach for me to actually connect it to the case. So I got some plastic tubes right there and modified that and made it happen. But the good news here is, unlike my computer before, I didn't have to saw any holes into my case, which I had to do last time. So what is it? It has, this is in no particular order, I've got a GTX 1080 Ti, a EVGA 1080 Ti GTX. That's a deep cool water cooling, a Captain 240EX White. That's what that's called. I have an Asus Strix Z370-G gaming motherboard with Wi-Fi. I'll tell you one thing about that motherboard that I didn't realize and I don't like too much. It's pretty short, which is nice. You can see it doesn't really dive down too far into the case, but there's only 2 PCI Express slots on it, and I bought one of those PCI Express hard drives, an 800 gig one. Let's talk about it in just a second. And it is leaning up. It is right against this fairly large graphics card, and I'm not too happy about that. In fact, I had to put a small shiv or small piece of plastic in between them because one of the fans on this bad boy was rubbing against, when it went up to high speed, it was rubbing against that little hard drive. So I'm not too excited about how that went down, so that one I have to think about a little bit. Got an 850 watt power supply in it. It's a gold, whatever they call it, 80 gold or thing. 80 gold. It's an EVGA as well. I have an i7 8700 3.7 in the as the CPU, which was fairly expensive, but works like a champ. It's the memory is G.Skill DDR4. I got 16 gig of that. Obviously, I can upgrade. I'm only using 2 of the slots. It's 2 sticks of 8. The SSD that I was talking about is an 800 gig. It's a Corsair CSSD and a bunch of numbers. I think it's a NX500R is the model number right there. A little DVD burner in there just in case. Although I'll tell you what, I don't know when the last time it was I used the DVD burner on the one before. Really, the only reason I got it is A, they're cheap, so it is a good backup, and B, I do get the Windows disk when I do this, so if something really goes goofy, I don't really need the internet, at least to get started on redoing Windows. Put Windows 10 on it, Home Edition, not too worried about that. I think that's all the deets on that stuff. That's pretty much the whole build right there. I did some rewickering of hard drives. There's another SSD, a smaller SSD from my other computer in there as well. And I plan on buying another one, so this little section on the bottom, you probably can't see my cursor. I'm actually moving my cursor around, but that's not going to show up on the bay. But if you look down at the bottom, you see the little bay for the SSDs. There was 2 bays down there, but the water cooling has taken up the spot where the second one was. So it had 6 slots for hard drives on the bottom and maybe another couple up on the top right where you can see that there's like 2 or 3 slots that aren't filled up right there. So that is the build. One last thing about that I found interesting, and this may be of interest to everybody else regarding World of Tanks. Obviously, I had to reload everything because I've had a new computer. When I reloaded World of Tanks, it fixed a lot of problems I had with tanks. One thing, there were multiple things I had going on with it. Number one was my auto login didn't work. So I never could I start up and all my details there and hit login and would it automatically go. That didn't work. Number two, trying to remember right here, auto login. Oh, number two was my settings for my sound and for my damage panel. I had to reset that every time I restarted the game, and probably a lot of it had to do with it was an old install that had been updated multiple times. But number two, I used a lot of mods in the past, and I'm quite certain they goofed around with a lot of the capability on the programming there or on the program itself. The point being of all that babbling is a fresh install fixed a lot of those little nagging, niggling problems. So if you're running into crap like that, maybe just delete the whole program and do a fresh install. Okay, I have refreshed my coffee. It's actually warm again. Always a good thing. We had a contest last week to give away a couple of the prizes from the Thanksgiving stuff. I had 2 things to give away, a slot and my credit boosters. Not my credit boosters, but some credit boosters. So the question I had was, number one, give me your best video idea. That'll be for the slot. And give me your best tip. And that'll be for the boosters. So I got a lot of good ideas for videos, a lot of good tips. And what I thought I'd do is I'd just share all these with you guys here. So without further ado, I'll go through the list and then I'll announce who won. Because, you know, they're really amazing prizes. So number one on the video ideas was a video or series on crew skills, which ones to prioritize, how to manage retraining, when to retrain for brothers in arms, that sort of thing. That's a great idea. That was sent in by M. Carberry. I do like that one. The next one was, and this was interesting, a lot of average, good, and excellent players in this game know why maps are unbalanced and what makes side A of a map better than side B, but a lot more players don't know how to counter those imbalances in maps, so they keep doing the same mistakes. So what I suggest is a video series about unbalances in all the maps, if any, and how to counter them if you get the weaker side, and how to take advantage of them if you're on the stronger side. That's pretty good, and I like the specificness of it. I did that a little bit with some of my map room videos. I've only done 2 or 3 of those, and I kind of stopped those because somebody pointed out, and it's a good point, the HD maps are inbound, and I would hate to spend a bunch of time doing map tactics videos, because there's quite a few out there, to be quite honest, already, and then have them change in HD. But the longer it goes and the longer HD kind of sits out there not done, the more I'm thinking, man, I should have got on this. But this one is specific enough that with a 5 to 6 minute short video just specifically talking that, you could probably actually cover a couple maps at a time. So that one I will definitely take into consideration. Next one was do a video with someone who has asked for help by playing a battle platooned and then have both views. That's actually a good one, and I have a sort of example of that coming up here in the next few days. I have a video, a 2-pack with myself and Nonamandus. We weren't platooned, but we happened to be on the same map, and he actually sent that video to me and mentioned, hey, you did pretty good on this map. I did okay, take a look at it for me. And that's going to be pretty close to that suggestion, but I like that one too. How about a video on optimal placement of hotkeys for the mouse for fast response times? It says, for example, if you decide to have the auto aim activated with a keyboard key, you could use the E key because of the short travel time. I like that as a subject. I think for me it would be more broad brush, because how people set up their mouse and their keyboard is so individual. Some people can use a bunch of different keys on their mouse. For me, for example, I have the zoom key, like anyone does, which is the wheel. I use that, the shoot, the fire, and I have one key on the side that I use for comm, because I like push to talk, and that's all I actually have on my mouse. Everything else is more or less vanilla on my keyboard, but I understand that a lot of people really get into working the keys around. So I don't know. I like the idea, but it may be more of a broad brush, hey, did you know these are the kinds of things you can do? So those are all good. Those were for the best video idea. The one I chose was from in-game Jay Sharper. Do a video with someone who has asked for help by playing a battle platoon with them and have both views. So I'll be sending the slot there to you, Jay Sharper, as soon as I'm done making all of this Coffee Talk stuff. All right, for the boosters with the best tip, here's a pretty good one. Not sure if it's a tip, but when I get a new tank, rather than buying and grinding up a commander to get 6 cents, being blind in the meantime, I'll often steal a 1-skill loader from one of my double loader crews and pay to make it a commander, 500 gold. So that's interesting. 500 gold is only a latte or beer, which is worth the 6 cents. That opens up into the one above where it talks about how to train crew skills. So as a best video idea, it actually ties into that as a best tip. And that's one way to do it. There are multiple ways to get a guy 6 cents. You can just, like you said, grab a guy that already has a skill at 100%, retrain him, reskill him into 6 cents, and off you go. Obviously, you've got to have gold to do that. So there's other ways. There's other ways to be efficient and maximize the crew training. But if you want to no kid and just have 6 cents, that is a really great idea. Another idea there is just grab a commander off of a tank that you have it on that you don't play anymore, and move him into the other tank. All right, the second one is get out of sniper mode after every reload and spin your camera around to gather SA. This is something I talk about a lot, and it's one of those pieces of advice that you might say duh to, like, okay, everyone knows that. But not everybody does it. A lot of people get fixated looking down the soda straw, looking at one spot. I talk about that a lot, especially when I get a new player who's looking for help. The first couple times I start looking at his videos, that's one of my easiest cherry pick items. More than likely I'm going to find them staring down the soda straw and not trying to gather SA by spinning their map around. And I call it the camera technique, so that's a good one. Next one is increase the size of your mini-map substantially from the stock setting. That's fantastic. That was from Wolf, and absolutely, I think for me, I hit plus twice, boom, boom, and that's the size that I use. I've seen other people make it bigger, but definitely make it a little bigger than stock so that it's easy to look at and kind of assess the information down there. It's like the one before, you might say duh, but a lot of people don't do it. Last one is, as a new player, spend as much time watching YouTube tank reviews, tactic videos as you do playing. It will help you develop. That's going to be to taste. That's from Rotorhead63. Thanks for that, Rotorhead. But I have learned a lot and found out a lot by digging around on YouTube and trying to find out what I need to know. For me, I lean more towards just play the game and then use YouTube as a backup. But again, it's to taste. It's however individuals want to do it. The one I chose to win on that was get out of sniper mode after every reload, because it's such a basic, important skill in the game. Gathering SA, and one of the ways to do that is good camera technique. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. You can look at your mini-map all day long, but unless you move your camera around and look at what that guy's actually doing, you're probably not getting the whole picture. You're probably not getting the whole picture. K. James is who sent in that. K. James, please send me your in-game name, because I cannot find it on any of the posts there. So send me your in-game name and I will send you the boosters. And that has to be done by the 15th, so you got 6 days to knock that out. All right, guys, let's move on. All right, heads up. Update 9.21 is on the way. This is off of Reed's status report. The report from December 3rd is that it's the 11th to 12th for RU, and for EU and NA a day later, so somewhere around the 12th or 13th. Get ready for your broken mods. Get ready for your replays not working. Realize about the time that happens, I get replays from the version before and they stop working. So if you send them in, I may not be able to see them. But there you have it. 9.21 is imminent. That's next week. All right, insider info and some news. This is off of the Armored Patrol. All info provided without warranty. So this is not official news, but interesting stuff nonetheless. Apparently, Anton Pankov now has way less influence on WOT development. We'll see what that does to the game. Personally, I haven't seen any large changes in direction of the development, but that piqued my interest. We'll see how that goes. There's a new map being made. Okay, good deal. High chance of the MBT-70 being introduced. That's just another tank. The Polish line is under an NDA, as they almost always are. Wargaming has a lot of plans regarding the future, since they're a bit miffed that the latest patch is a bit empty. All right, that one, let me caveat this and go back to the beginning. When I go through these things, usually these are translations to English from second and third party people, so who knows what the actual words were used in the original language, or what the actual question that was asked for the answer that you got. But it's kind of a strange answer because they're mad that their patch is empty. You know what I mean? I have to assume that this is levels of the company are miffed at the developers for what they brought in. That's an assumption, though. I don't know. It's a strange. They're mad that their patch is empty. Even if it's a straight up translation problem or I'm not getting the meaning, that's still kind of funny. A new US medium will probably be introduced. Apparently this is a picture of it down here. I hope it looks better than that in game. Wargaming understood their error and will receive, I like how it's got garage slots crossed out, gift tanks next year. Remember how we got a garage slot, I guess, last year? Was that actually Christmas last year, or was it some other, or was it the Wargaming anniversary? I want to say it was the Wargaming anniversary, or maybe both. Anyway, looks like we're going to get that tank. I talked about that a little earlier. That is listed in their holiday ops thing as well. And now the bomb. This is just wheeled vehicles. Once again, there's more rumors about wheeled vehicles coming in. ETA is 2019 to 2020, and I don't care. Does that make me a bad person? I don't, wheeled vehicles, okay, whatever, man. There you have it. That is the insider information. All right, cheating in a world of tanks. Dun dun dun. I don't care. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't necessarily care about cheating, but the kind of cheating in this game, which are essentially mods that do certain things, I don't care. They don't make you better. They really don't. If you're good, if you're already good and you're running them, they can give you an advantage. I will absolutely admit to that. But the reason I'm starting to just not care is because it just appears like Wargaming does not care either. Let's start with the beginning. if you're going to have a policy against certain mods, it needs to be a good policy. It needs to be well spelled out so people know what's going on. One of the reasons I stopped using mods is I could not figure out what mod was legal and what mod was illegal. In a lot of cases, in some cases it was pretty obvious because they came right out and they said it, but it is not a dynamic enough process for them to keep up with the different mods that come out, and they put very little effort into it. So essentially, I won't dig into their verbiage, but it says something to the effect of things that give an unfair advantage, which is just kind of broad brush. Essentially what it comes down to is the senator who once said, I can't define what porn is, but I know it when I see it. So that's how they operate with the mods thing. So I stopped using them because it's arbitrary and capricious to a large extent. I think we can all agree there are certain mods that are clearly advantages and they need not be in the game. I agree with that 100%, but around the edges, it's just so cheesy the way they do it. So in this particular instance, you can see I've got called up. This is one of Lemming Rush's videos. Shout out to Lemming Rush, great YouTuber, excellent player, all that good stuff. And he jumped on this right away. This was back on December 3rd, so I'm late to the party on this. I was kind of curious. I wanted to see how the dust would settle. I didn't have a whole lot to add to everybody else's stuff as they were talking. But so what happened is this guy, I won't get into names, I'm not going to worry about that. You can probably dig it out of there by looking at it or looking at Lemming Rush's video, which is called Cheating. Wargaming Doesn't Ban Cheaters in World of Tanks is what it's called. So if you're interested, go listen to it. He lays it all out. I'm just more looking at the big picture of this thing right here. So this guy gets on Twitch, and he is streaming with about every modification known to man. There are a lot of accusations flown around this particular player and his clan, which will remain nameless. You know who they are, or you can find out easily. I'm not worried about that. Things like buying accounts and parking accounts to build up the clan's average win rate, paying people to pad the stats of accounts, all this mess. There's kind of some weirdness here because if you look at this guy, whoever's playing this, has about 10,000 mods on it, and some of them are all on top of each other, as if somebody had gone to a mod site and just loaded up a ton of them just to kind of prove a point or be silly, or maybe get at this guy because he owed him money because he was padding his stats and didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's just a big joke. For whatever reason, he starts streaming all these things, and of course somebody found it, and by the time it got done, there was, I don't know, 200, 300, maybe up to 500 people watching him stream the most illegal of mods, and then a lot of innocuous mods just all on top of each other as well. So the interesting part about it, that's not actually that's the funny part about it, and who knows what the motivation was. I have no idea. I won't even speculate. I actually know this guy sort of. I've actually talked to him on TeamSpeak and things. That I don't know what's going down here, to be quite honest, in the background. But the fallout is interesting because pretty quickly Twitch shut him down for cheating. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. Twitch shut him down for cheating, but apparently there's been a lot of details about what's going on with this particular group of people or person, if you believe it's only one person or a small group or whatever. And nothing was really done with Wargaming in regards to their cheating policies. But Twitch was certainly able to shut him down quickly. Now, I looked up the name, and he hasn't played this account anyway since December 3rd. So maybe something did happen. But that goes back to Wargaming's policy on it, where everyone's in the dark. So everyone's in an uproar. This created a crap storm like you read about. It's even more entertaining over on Reddit, where Reddit doesn't get as censored as the official forums do, and over on Watt Labs as well. If you want a good laugh, go check out those threads where they talk about it. But anyway, it goes back to Wargaming's responses to this, where we have zero idea what's going on. There's no communication. There's no talking about it. It's swept under the rug. And while they may have taken care of it vis-a-vis their policy, and I do understand why their policy is they don't really advertise what they do. On the other hand, when something big and goofy like this happens, a little info would be kind of fantastic to at least calm the waters and say, hey guys, this was a one-off situation. This was odd. We're not really sure what was going on, but here's, we took care of it and we did a couple things and here's what we did. But, standard act with Wargaming, just crickets. No one knows. Everyone's making videos about it, to include me at this point. And everyone got their panties in a giant bunch. I'll go back to the beginning. My problem with it is, once again, how Wargaming handles it. As far as the cheating and the mods thing, I don't use them anymore because I don't want my account banned because I somehow put on a mod that they randomly and capriciously decide is illegal, and I don't know it because they don't advertise it well. You know what I mean? That's why I don't do it. It's not because I'm necessarily too worried about some guy using deforestation mods and laser pointers and all that garbage. At the end of the day, as far as that goes, I don't care, you know. But I do care about how they handle it. All right. So that was pretty funny. Well, all right, my brothers and my sisters, that is it for Coffee Talk this week. I got about half a coffee, but I did refresh in between, so that's good. Man, we talked about a lot of stuff. Just expect the Holiday Ops video to come out as soon as it is dropped and I figure out how that thing works. We'll unpack it. We covered a lot of info. I won't go over what all of it was. I am done talking, and that is it. And we will see y'all next week and during the week for the different episodes. Later.